everybody, hope y'all are doing well. And today, well, I've been planning on making this video for about a week now. Today, Buffy the Vampire Slayer turns 20 years old, and that is the weirdest thing for me to try to comprehend, because I remember when the show first came out, I was 8 years old, going on 9, and I had heard about it. I had seen, commercials and stuff for it. All the hype was building, this, that, and the other. And, I remember the very first time, I have this very vivid image in my head that I can't really convey very well with words, but I have, this distinct, clear image in my brain when I was sitting down in front of my TV watching that show for the first time. And my mom and dad actually, they didn't really want me to watch it because they thought it would be too scary for me. Because when I was younger, I had a very low tolerance for any kind of horror. When I was 3 or 4 years old, my sister made me watch A Nightmare on Elm Street with her, so that scarred me from a very early age. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for that. So yeah, I had no tolerance for anything that was scary, because it would give me nightmares, and basically my mom and dad they didn't want me to watch it because they thought it would be too much. And I begged with them, and I begged with them, and I was like, no, I'll be fine, it's not going to be a big deal, whatever. And they finally, my mom actually was the one that kind of gave in, and she was like, okay, fine, whatever, just be careful, which is, it's such a mom thing to say, but yeah, they, like I said, they pretty much, they were more nervous for me that, it would give me nightmares, because it was about vampires, and, well, obviously it's about vampires, but, it dealt with very teenagey kind of material, and like I said, I wasn't even, a double digits adolescent yet, and the show was coming out. So the very first time that I watched that show, I was enamored with it. It's just one of those things that when it just clicked with me, and that became my thing. What I'm kind of, the point that I'm trying to get at is everybody has that, not necessarily one fixation, but they have things that people associate with them. And for me, it's things like video games. Growing up, I didn't really have a lot of friends, so I played video games a lot. And, when I first started listening to music, Britney Spears was actually the first, she was the first recording artist that I bought a CD from. And, obviously to this day I still listen to her, and that's something that people associate with me. And, my love for Carrie Underwood, people associate Carrie Underwood and I. And Buffy became, from a very young age for me, something that I associated myself with. And there weren't that many people, because again, I didn't really have friends when I was younger, but there weren't that many people that knew that I liked Buffy up until probably high school, I want to say. And I actually still remember the series finale. I was in high school at the time. Was I a freshman or a sophomore? I think I was a sophomore. I don't even know how old I am anymore. For argument's sake, we'll say that I was a sophomore, because actually, now that I think about it, I think I was. But I remember the show coming to an end, and it felt like this part of me, this is so cliche and so dumb, but it felt like this part of me was just gone in a way. I grew up watching it over the last 6 or 7 years, and suddenly it was over and it was done with. But it was very surreal. But anyway, that's topic for another time. But kind of backpedaling a little bit here, when I was growing up, you know, I was totally shy. I had no friends. I did not date. I did not get invited to, like, birthday parties, anything like that. I was very much, like, I was a very socially awkward child, and to be fair, I still am very socially awkward, um, but it's fine. But I took comfort, like, and this is kind of related, relative to video games being my hobby. Buffy kind of like became my hobby. That was something that I really, fixated on and I loved. And when I was growing up, and this comes as no surprise to some of you who have known me for as long as you have, I attached to Willow so quickly, like immediately, just absolutely immediately. Like, it's weird because I actually didn't really like Buffy herself very much at first. But Willow was, when I was younger, she was the character that I just attached to immediately. And I was like, you remind me so much of myself, and you're awesome. Except, well, she was, I didn't see myself as being awesome because I had very poor self-confidence. But again, that's another topic for another day. And that's kind of Willow. And I don't know if this was a subconscious thing or not, but like, as I grew up and, as I was approaching like my teenage years, I saw so many aspects of myself that were present in Willow. I mean, like I said, I didn't date or anything like that, but just her general character, the way that she was very bookwormy and the way that she was kind of studious. Like, I mean, I was not a straight A student by any means, like, not even close, but her as a whole kind of encompassed who I was. And, that's why I got the nickname Willow. That's why I gave myself that nickname, because this character resonated so deeply within me that I saw myself, in her. I saw those aspects of myself perfectly portrayed in this person, in this fictitious character, and I loved her. And I don't know if this is really going to make sense, but, like I said, Willow is kind of that, she was the person that I was while I was growing up. And now, at the stage that I'm at in my life, and kind of for the last couple of years, I would say at least the last couple of years, I have seen myself changing so much that I see myself now relating more to Buffy and more relating to the experiences that she has gone through in her adult life. And this is one of those things that I can't really put into words very well. But I think kind of as my adolescence went away and as I was, as I began growing up more, as I began really, really having to deal with adulthood and with a lot of the pressures and my own trials that I've had to face, it's obviously extremely different circumstances, but there are a lot of parallels that I am able to draw between myself and Buffy, especially during, I mean, knock on wood, both my parents are alive, but like pretty much from the time that Joyce died in the show onward, that's kind of like where I feel that I'm at now. And that's kind of, like this makes a lot more sense in my head, and I'm not able to articulate it very well. But I have definitely shifted from, I mean, there's obviously, and there's always going to be, I'm always going to see myself as Willow, just because she was, like I said, she and I were pretty much the same person. But now I'm able to see myself reflected in another character. And I couldn't have asked to, I couldn't want to see myself as anyone else, if that makes sense, because Buffy's not perfect. she is not a perfect human being. Like, not even a little bit. She made a lot of good decisions. She did a lot of good for a lot of people. She saved the world a lot. But there were also times that I would be watching the show and I would just kind of, maybe it was the way that she was, talking to someone or handling a particular situation or engaging in very self-destructive behaviors that would make me kind of step back and be like, probably shouldn't do that. You're making a poor choice, but it's fine. Um, but I think that's part of the reason that I love Buffy as a character as much as I do, because she's not a Mary Sue. She is so far from being perfect, and that's why so many people are able to relate to her, why so many people love her, because, superpowers aside, she's your every woman, pretty much. She was going through everything that everybody in the world goes through. She went through, her first romance, her first major loss. She went through, you know, being manipulated by people that she loved. She went through so much. And because of that every woman appeal, that's why people love her. That is why, people like me were glued to our TV screens, why we were, watching her, because we saw our lives essentially on the TV screen reflected in this character. And it wasn't just her, and it wasn't just Willow, it was everybody. It was Cordelia, it was Giles, it was Xander, it was Oz, it was Tara, it was everyone. Everyone that went on that screen, whether it was for a minute, whether it was for 7 seasons, everybody, I feel, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but I'll speak on behalf of myself. I can see so much, I see little parts of myself in these characters, obviously to varying degrees for, specific ones, but that's why people love them. They were, they were everything. There was a character for everyone. There was a situation for everyone that, could somehow be related to. And more than that, and this is so important, especially now, but especially considering in 1997, there wasn't really, barring the Spice Girls, and a couple other people kind of come to mind as well, but there were not that many portrayals of strong females. They were, the 90s were a totally different time period to begin with, so that's kind of like, it's not really that big of a surprise, but Buffy was, I'm not going to say that she was the first strong female character, because obviously she wasn't, but she is one that became so prominent so quickly. And not gonna lie, I think that because of the fact that I grew up watching this show, that really, that was amazing for me to have, to watch this character, to watch this girl be a strong figure, not just for me, but for, little girls that were maybe, 8 or 9 years old watching the show too. They were like, oh, hey, this blonde girl, she's not like, she's not the smartest. Okay, maybe she doesn't always make the best, decisions, but she will always do what she feels is right. She will always, she set a very good role model. She set a good role model? She was a good role model. Words are hard. It's fine. She, I'm at a loss for words. I can't, like, it was so rare. It was so hard to come by a character that did so much good, that set such a positive example for, little kids, little girls especially, to look up to. And like I said, that is so important now. Take a look at the people that watched this show when it came out, like I did. Take a look at, these girls, and, they had that amazing, amazing figure to look up to when there really just were not other positive female role models at the time. And it doesn't matter that, that Buffy's a fictional character. What matters is the impact that she had on people. What matters is the fact that, she was able to kick ass, just as well as any guy, probably better, if I'm being totally honest. And at the end of the day, she would still be a human being that still had to go through the same crap that every other human being had to go through. And I think one of the biggest reasons that she was such a positive role model is, again, she wasn't perfect, but she took on everything that came her way, even when she knew that things might not turn out quite so well. She took on every challenge, head on. And at least for me, that kind of formed my thinking into my train of thought into, well, if she can do it, why can't I? If she can take on 10 times as many challenges as I'm taking on, why can't I? And that's so important. It is so, so important. I don't know, I could probably keep on talking for another 15, 16 minutes like I have been, but there are so many thoughts, in my head that I want to get out, and I don't know if there's enough hours in the day. I really don't, because this, like I said when I started the video, this show it holds such a dear place in my heart. This was so important to me when I was growing up. This influenced me so heavily, and I can't, there's not enough hours in the day for me to talk about this and say as much as I want to. So I think, in summation, I will say that I am so glad that in my lifetime I got to come across a show like this. I am so glad that I had, I realize that I'm a boy, but I am so glad that I had a positive female role model to look up to, because that Buffy reinforced my love for women, my respect for women. She, like I said, she was one of the most prevalent, strong female characters, and that influenced my respect. I mean, not to say that I looked disparagingly on women at all, but she really drove the point home that, yeah, women can do literally everything that guys can do. And like I said, sometimes they can do it fucking better than we can. So, Buffy, you are... I don't have words. I don't have words. Thank you. Thank you for, just everything. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Joss. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Nick. Thank everybody. I'm so thankful for all of these people, all of these actors and actresses, all of the screenwriters, all of the everybody that made that show possible. You had such a formative, impactful... You did so much for one person. These are my experiences. These are the things that I took away from this show. And I am so thankful to each and every single one of you for making this happen. I am so thankful that this show came to fruition. And I don't know how differently I would have turned out if I didn't have this to watch when I was growing up. So, really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone who made that show possible, because you did a world of good. You really did. And maybe in another 20 years I'll make a video like this, because I know that I'll still be watching. I watch the show, I rewatch the show every year, And I can guarantee in another 20 years, I'll still keep watching it. So thank you all. And I don't know. Buffy slays 20, y'all.